Nation of Fit 10, welcome to day 22. And we are almost 1/3 through the challenge. Just a reminder, we're almost 1/3. It goes by super fast. So just a reminder for you to take advantage of each and every day. I posted about electrolytes yesterday. And somebody asked me if I know of a good electrolyte solution. I think this person also asked about, is it G2 by Gatorade? I believe it's called G2. So G2 doesn't have any electrolytes in it. Well, it may have a very minuscule amount, but it's not an electrolyte drink. It's just basically has a little bit of sugar, not much. It's got a little bit of sugar. It's got some coloring in there, and it's going to have some artificial sweetener. And it has probably a little bit of sodium, but it doesn't have the full spectrum of electrolytes. Okay, so it doesn't have, for example, what something like this would have. This is, by the way, Electrolytes XL. One of the reasons I carry ATP Lab brand, there's a number of reasons, but one of them is because the products that they have were better suited to, in my opinion, to helping you in various ways, whether we're talking about different vitamins, different vitamin supplements, or supplements to help with your immune system, or perhaps supplements that really make a difference with stamina or performance in the gym, or what we would call ergogenic aids. This would be considered an ergogenic aid to some degree. Well, it's definitely an ergogenic aid, but I think that kind of exaggerates in some ways, because we should always have enough essential electrolytes or salts, although we don't normally term electrolytes as salts. To me, they're all salts. Usually we just think about like sodium and chlorine as salts, or sodium chloride as a salt. But we have to look at things like potassium, right? Magnesium, zinc, calcium, etc. Sodium, of course. These are all necessary for proper hydration. And with proper hydration, you're going to feel much more energetic when you train. Quite often when people have things like they come to work out, they have a headache. I posted about this yesterday. They have a headache, or they don't feel like they have a lot of energy. They always assume that perhaps they didn't eat enough sugar, they didn't eat enough carbohydrates, or they didn't eat something. But more often than not, because we've got lots of energy reserves on the body, more often than not, it's due to lack of electrolytes, lack of hydration. Remember, hydration is water and electrolytes, getting enough water and electrolytes. So if you want a good electrolyte mix, I carry it. I use this myself, which is just show you proof, okay? I actually, one of the reasons I got this line of products, because it was a lot of products I wanted to use myself. So that was one reason I got it. But this, to be honest with you, and I've tried a lot of ergogenic aids, this is definitely top 3 ergogenic aids. So what would the other two be? Creatine, I noticed a big difference with my performance, and a product called HMB, hydroxymethylbutyrate. Those two things help with my performance. This I never thought would help so much. I thought it would help some degree, obviously, but I never knew it would help so much. Now, there is a little bit of added stuff in this, including some ribose and beetroot juice. And beetroot juice is known to help with stamina and power. It's been shown. So, there might be a part of that in this whole thing as well, which is why it's a little bit more effective. Anyways, I don't want to make this whole video about trying to sell you this, but it really made a huge difference. By the way, this flavor here, peach mango, super, super good. It's well worth it, and I will tell you, it's a small little container, but the scoop is really tiny too. So you just take a scoop of it. I also add extra sodium in there. Okay, and by the way, I didn't read this, but there is sodium chloride in there, which is just salt, and then there's also sodium citrate, which is just another. Basically, I won't get into it, but you can't have, you have to bind. When you have electrolytes, you have to bind them with something. They have to be bound. They just can't be free floating. So with a charge. So, I mean, when you're storing them in this form. So this is why you'll always see like potassium, whatever, citrate, or you'll see, well, that's what kind of magnesium is it? Magnesium malate or magnesium taurate, right? So these are all bound to amino acid. Anyways, I'm going down a rabbit hole. Very good product for hydration. 5.5 minutes. Okay, ridiculous. Okay, a couple things I want to mention about the video I did not yesterday, but the day before. When we were talking about lifting weights and using ATP as fuel, we're talking about heavy weights. We're talking about weights where, we're failing in that 1 to, 30 rep range, something like that. We're using majority ATP as fuel as less and less force production is required per unit of time. So as I have to, so we could just say like every second. So every second where I'm producing less and less force, or less and less force is required, we move out of ATP, we move into burning more sugar. If even less force is required, and we start to move into burning more more fat as fuel. We start utilizing fat more as fuel. But this isn't to say that if you burn ATP or you burn glucose, you're not going to burn fat. Of course you're going to burn fat. This all leads to your net calorie deficit. All right? So don't get confused with that. So if I walk, I'm going to use more, in theory, I'm going to use more fuel from fat. If I run, I'm going to use more, especially if I run, pretty fast, I'm going to use more fuel from glucose, less from ATP, less from fat. If I am deadlifting my 1 rep max, that is all ATP. Very little glucose, definitely no fat being utilized as energy. Okay, so just a little bit more perspective. Anything else I want to say? No, I think that's everything I wanted to say on that topic. All right, let's get to the message of the day. Oh, and by the way, somebody had posted about my FitnessPal having some issues with it. I believe I responded back and I said, try restarting your phone or just closing down the app, reopening it. That fixed the problem. So if you encounter any issues with your app, do one or both of those things. Okay, message of the day. Remember this because it's very, very true. You can fast track weight loss. You can't fast track fat loss. You can't. Okay? You can fast track weight loss. You cannot fast track fat loss. And believe me, when we're talking, I don't realize this is not the only important thing in life, but when we're talking about losing fat, or when we're talking about losing weight, ultimately what you are talking about is you're talking about losing fat. That's really what you mean. You may not realize it, but that is what you mean. Nobody wants to lose bone mass. Nobody wants to lose lean muscle tissue, because believe me when I say this, as much as people have told me in the past that their legs are just so muscular, etc., I can tell you from experience that when you lose the fat that you have, you will quickly realize that you don't have very much muscle, even if you think you have muscle. Every time I competed, and I realize this is a bit of an extreme result, but I'm using it just to emphasize my point. Every time I dieted and I lost, pretty much all the fat I had in my body, not all of it, but I got to very, very low body fat levels, somewhere in that 3 to 5% body fat range. I always was like, this is it? This is all I got? So, it just reinforced to me, how much fat people actually do carry, okay? Anyways, getting back to my point here, you cannot fast track fat loss. You can't. If you try to push losing weight really, really fast, losing fat really, really fast, you're going to lose, yes, you'll lose more fat, you will, but you're going to lose more muscle tissue, you're going to lose more water. Okay, if you go slower in your weight loss, you'll lose a greater percentage of fat. It's just the way it is. Okay? Just remember that. Slow and steady wins the race overall. I think I'll just stop there because there's a lot more I could say. Positive energy, it's 10 minutes too. Positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself, for the love of God, give some gratitude. I'll talk to you all tomorrow. See you guys.